Hello, how you doing? This is Brian the Jamaican at your service. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in again. Good to see you guys. Well, I can't really see you, but you know what I mean. It's been 2 weeks since I have made a video. The last video I was just one day out of surgery and just a little confused about everything and trying to gather myself and the new life that I am embarking on, being not mobile. So this has been 2 weeks now since I've made another video, and so everything is cool, everything is alright. I have things situated in a room that is convenient for me to move around and get around in. So it's been okay. I have some crutches that I got that I had to learn how to use because I've never used crutches before, so that was a challenge in itself, especially when taking showers. I had to balance on my left leg, the good leg, so I wasn't able to spend enough time to really thoroughly wash myself, but I was able to soak myself a little bit and hop out of the shower, because I'm balancing on one leg, which after a while takes its toll. But now that I have a walker, so I have crutches and a walker, my walker helps me out a lot more, and the front of the walker has wheels. So it is way more convenient. It helps me to get around, at least upstairs, from my room to the first bathroom where I wash my face and brush my teeth, to the other bathroom where I can stand up in the shower, because this first bathroom I have to hop over and I can't do that yet. So the other shower I just walk in because it opens up and I can just walk into the shower. So it helped me a whole lot, so I don't really need much of assistance anymore, which I'm glad, because I'm so used to doing things by myself. But yeah, I went to the ortho doctor about 3-4 days ago, and they took the staples out, and I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, it doesn't look too bad, it's just the staples looks like terrible with the staples in it. But when they took the staples out, and then they put these waterproof bandages so I can really take showers and have the water just kind of run down my leg, as opposed to before. He just told me I can put weight on the leg now, on the recovering leg, to get some balance, which helps me out a whole lot more. So it's easier for me to take showers and get around. But if I want to go downstairs to do anything or get something, I usually just take my crutches and I go on my butt and I slide down the stairs with my crutches. Take my time doing it, and I do the same thing with the opposite. If I want to go back upstairs, I go backwards on my butt. So I just improvise and get creative. But this is not what I'm making this video for. It is about living in Atlanta and dating in Atlanta. I'm from New York City, born and raised in the largest city in the country, right? The busiest city in the country, never stops, 24/7. I was born and raised around culture. I am Jamaican, or Jamaican American, first generation Jamaican. My parents came straight from the islands here. They migrated to America, to New York City in the 70s. They had me in 1982 in Brooklyn at a hospital called Kings County, which was one of the worst hospitals back then. I'm not sure about now. It's probably improved exponentially. But I was born around mostly Caribbean people. I went to church, a Caribbean church. I have Haitian friends, I have Venezuelan black friends, I have Guyanese friends, I have Grenadian friends, Trinidadian friends, friends from St. Lucia, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, St. Nevis, all over the Caribbean, right? That was my atmosphere, that was my environment growing up, right? Until I was able to go out on my own and explore New York City for itself. So I was mainly in Brooklyn from my early years to my preteen to my teenage years and my early adult years, and I decided to branch out and go to Manhattan. I discovered Manhattan because New York is such a big place. So you could be born and raised in Queens or in Brooklyn, and that's all you'll know, right? Because it's so vast, there's so much to do, right? So once I got to an age where I wanted to spread my wings, I started heading out into the city and realized, wow, this is a whole nother world. Even though I'm still in the same city, it's a whole nother borough, a whole nother vibe, you know, way more diverse. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Brooklyn isn't diverse, because it's very diverse, culturally diverse, and in some aspects ethnically diverse. Yeah, it is ethnically diverse. But Manhattan is like the epicenter of the whole world. Obviously, you know, you have the financial centers down there, Wall Street. You have the World Trade Center, which used to be the World Trade Center, now it's the Freedom Tower. And everything happens there. So growing up in New York City, I've always had options. The options were very vast, and I had a lot of options as far as dating is concerned. Different women from different cultural backgrounds who are not necessarily born and raised, or they have like a family lineage that traces back to anything that's American. You get what I'm saying? They either were born in another country and they migrated here and live here, or they're first generation. They're like one generation in to America, right? So the mindset was different, the perspective. They were more open-minded. They had a curiosity, especially those that came from another country and they were born and raised, and they are curious about America and they want to know more about America and know the culture. They came here with a curiosity, so it was easier to get along in those relationships. Now, why they didn't last is because sometimes they had to go back to their country to renew their visa, and that took months, and then they would come back, and then we would lose contact, so it wouldn't really continue. And for others, it just simply didn't work out. You know what I mean? I either wasn't physically attractive enough, or they were just on another path. You get what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with personalities clashing. It was never that, because they were just, most of the women that I dated, which were mostly like Hispanic women and a good chunk of Asian women, they were always like laid back and stuff. So it was never any clashing as far as personality. But I had a lot of options, you know, and because New York City's the cultures in New York City, they bleed into one another. So everybody gets along with everybody else. You get what I'm saying? There's a cultural aspect where there's a lot of cultural pride, and you'll see different groups representing their flag, whether it be on them or it be in their car or it be outside of their window. You'll know where they came from. You'll know what nation they represent. Here in Georgia, not too much. Georgia, the racial dynamics, the social construct here stems from slavery that used to take place here in Georgia. Slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, all that good stuff, all that amazing stuff that happened to black people back then. I'm being sarcastic. But the atmosphere or the environment reflects the environment now reflects what used to happen back then. And this doesn't only go for Georgia, it just goes for all of the southern states, whether it be North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, this state obviously, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, did I say Florida? Florida. Most of these southern states where historically the whole world knows the history of what took place and the crimes that were committed against humans, specifically Africans and some Irish and some Chinese that were also mistreated down here, but not to the level of black Americans or Africans. They were treated less than humans or less than animals. Chattel slavery, pretty much. And so I really had no desire to move down here to Georgia, to be honest. I came down here by default because I got laid off my job in New York City. I used to work for Brooks Brothers. I don't know if anybody knows about Brooks Brothers. It's the oldest retail clothing store in America. And ironically, that store was the same store that used to create and used to make the clothes for slaves. They designed the outfits for the slaves, and that's how old this store is. And so I used to work there. I think the store is over 200 years old. And I used to work there, and I got laid off, and that was bittersweet because I actually loved working there, and I was making somewhat good money, but I was able to live comfortably. And I was able to meet a lot of really cool and interesting people, a lot of beautiful women in the corporate sector of the building, because that building in Manhattan is the main headquarters for the whole world. All the Brooks Brothers around the world, that building was the main headquarters. So yeah, I got laid off, and I was in panic mode, so I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't thinking that my cousin, she lives in the Bronx in Co-op City. I could have just stayed with her until I got myself back on my feet, but I never contacted her while I was living by myself in New York City. And it's such a stupid thing that I'm thinking about it. I could have still been in New York City, probably working some corporate job. I don't know, but I'd still be up there. But anyway, I'm down here for a reason, because my parents, they're getting older, and I want to be closer to them. So yeah, back to I didn't really have any plans to move down here, and I learned about the history of this state and what took place in this state in school in New York in social studies class when I was in public school. And I heard about the atrocities that took place. I never thought in a million years that I would be living down here, but here I am, right? So yeah, so the social construct and the race relations here needs a lot of work. And so because of that, the people who are born and raised here are obviously American born, and they're either a few generations in, or they could be first generation, and then they were born and raised in this environment, and they were exposed to this type of environment. Now Georgia is very, as far as I'm concerned, this is all my perspective. Georgia is segregated. It is. People in Georgia tend to stick with their own kind for some weird reason. I don't know what that does or what that proves, but they do it here. So intermixing, even though it happens in Georgia, it is not the norm. It's not normal. It's not like in New York where that's the norm and we just get along. In Georgia, it's almost controversial. It's almost controversial. Like I said, it does happen, but you don't see it to the extent of living in a more democratic city, a liberal city, where people are able to express themselves a little more. Georgia, you're either black or white. And then there's little pockets of diversity. Not much, but there's just little pockets of it. And you have to travel to those areas, like 30, 45 miles, to those areas to find at least some form of diversity, right? And even so, with finding that, you will notice that the mindset of the people here are just very closed off. You know, they're closed off. They're not. They're very comfortable. They're not open-minded at all, and that has a lot to do with Georgia being a predominantly conservative Republican state. They don't like change. Like I said, they're comfortable. And so someone like me coming from New York City and then moving down to Georgia, I had to at least try to see things for what it is, and adapt, but I refuse to conform because I'm a thorough New Yorker with a Jamaican background. And if anything, anybody knows about Jamaica, Jamaica has a vast diversity of people, right? You have Africans, of course, like myself, Jamaicans, and then you have Chinese Jamaicans, you have Indian Jamaicans, you have white Jamaicans from Germany, right? And you have also white Jamaicans from Ireland, which I believe my background is connected to, since my name is Brian Clark, and Clark is a Scottish Irish last name, and so is my first name. Its origins come from Ireland and Scotland, right? You have Middle Eastern Jamaicans from Syria, from the Middle East and Syria, which I believe part of my background is as well. Obviously, I am a black person, but those other races and ethnicities are part of who I am as well, right? So you have that whole melting pot in Jamaica, and Jamaica's motto is out of many we are one, right? Out of many, one. And it's a very true statement, because when you go to Jamaica, you'll see that, right? And you see how laid back and how cool people are in Jamaica. But I come from, that's my history, that's my lineage, that's my background. And then living in New York, being around diversity 24/7, then coming down here to Georgia and being met with all of this superstition, met with all of this negativity about different races of people. Stay away from those people, stay away from that people, they ain't no good, better watch out, you know what I mean? And then they got the southern accents to throw on top of it, which, you know, I've learned to get used to. At first I was just like, ew, but, you know, it's an accent, it's just an accent. But I had to, like, endure that, and I'm not used to that. I'm not used to all of this negative talk and people sticking with their own kind. I'm sorry, I'm just an open person. Not too open, but in certain areas, I'm just very open. And considering that I'm a creative and I'm an artist, our domain is vast. So we are very open, we think outside the box, and that's just how I am. I always like move to the beat of my own drum, which is good and bad, you know. But anyway, so that goes back, that brings me back to living here in Atlanta and just finding it very difficult to get what I'm looking for, because most of the people here are born and raised, they're locals, and they're generations in. Like their family, their children, their grandparents, grandparents lived here, and they were raised in this culture, they were raised in this environment, they were raised in the political atmosphere, and their whole mindset is stick with your own kind. That's literally what it is, you know what I mean? And that's basically an inherent racism that they've inherited living down here, and a lot of them don't think it's racist. They don't think it's racist. Even the black folks down here don't think it's racist. And I'm going to be honest, I've met some older local Georgians here, and like I said, this is just my perspective. They have been some of the most hateful, racist, and vindictive groups of black folks that I have encountered and have had the displeasure of talking to and knowing. But needless to say, I don't really keep contact with them, because these are folks that I've met on the job working here. So dating here has been difficult. It is not an environment, especially if you are from a much bigger city like New York, or places and areas that is just known for its diversity and intermixing. You come down here and you're looking for your forever partner, it's slim to none. It really is. It's just not an environment that you would want to find someone. especially, unfortunately, especially someone who's a local down here, because it's two perspectives clashing, two different worlds clashing, two different types of understanding clashing. And that has been my experience. I'm not going to speak for everybody else. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, because I've seen multiple videos of people moving down here to Atlanta and having horrible dating experiences. So yeah, so you are better off, you're better off like going overseas, pretty much. You're better off like going into another state and finding love somewhere else. Granted, I'm pretty sure there are people here who are genuine and very open and want to discover, because you got to understand, most of the people here, most of these locals here have never traveled outside the country. They've never traveled outside the state. I've met a few folks down here, which is weird to me because, you know, us Jamaicans, anybody that's from the Caribbean or of Caribbean descent or of African descent, there's a passport. They have a passport. But apparently down here, in the American South, a lot of folks down here, especially the black folks here, they don't have passports. I don't know if it's just a regional thing or it's across the country, but they don't have a passport. They've never traveled outside the country. They've never traveled outside the state, let alone the county that they live in. I know one person down here who has never been outside her county. She lives in a specific county here in Georgia, and she's never stepped foot outside the county because she doesn't drive her whole life. And I believe she's like in her 40s now. That's insane. But yeah, that's what it is down here. So you have folks down here who just are set in their ways, and they're very patriotic because down here everybody has a gun, and they're all about God and country and stuff like that. And hey, fine, that's cool, but you know, some folks down here consider New York a socialist place, and we're just like, what? They think New York is this terrible city. They hate New York, and they have no idea. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have no idea what they're even saying. They've never been in New York, or maybe they have, and it's just too much for them because there's so much culture, there's so much going on, there's so much diversity. It's a cultural shock to the point where it offends them. You get what I'm saying? It offends them because they're from a conservative state where people are used to segregating themselves from each other, different groups. Like Georgia's a very big state, so you have a lot of room to live 50 miles away from another group of people and live 40 miles away from another group of people. You get what I'm saying? You can live comfortable like that. You can hide. You know what I mean? New York City, everything is close together, so there's a lot of exposure. It's all about exposure in New York. So living here in Georgia, I'll say it's comfortable living here. It's, you know, the quality of living is better. I'll give Georgia that. The cost of living is relatively reasonably priced, relatively low. But everything else is subjective depending on your perspective and what you're expecting. New York, of course, is extremely expensive now. It's the most expensive city in the country currently, with rent going up to $5,600 a month. Unheard of. But that's the only bad part. The good part about New York City is that you'll get so much more culture, so much more things to do, so much more diversity, always things happening. You're going to be exposed. You don't really need a car to get around because New York has some of the greatest public transportation in the country compared to the MARTA train here, which doesn't really go everywhere. The MARTA train map is literally across like this, and New York's train map goes everywhere in New York City. So it's a give or take, pretty much. It's a give or take Georgia, like I said, if you're looking to date here, I wouldn't recommend it. If you find someone that you think you can spend your life with, cool. But in general, don't bother. You know, get your passports if you have a passport and start traveling, or go to another state, a state that has the same political climate, cultural climate as where you're from, and find them there. If you get lucky or fortunate or blessed and you find somebody from your hometown here in Georgia, click with them. Create a connection. Trust me. You'll enjoy Georgia better if you do it that way. But as far as dating down here and dating the locals down here, I would think long and hard. I wouldn't tell you not to, but I would just think. Just vet that person that much more, so you don't run into any problems, or they don't ghost you, or they don't set you up or anything like that. But yeah, that is my little rant about living here in Georgia and the difference of where I come from and my background versus living down here. I will be creating more videos like this in the future. They won't be as close or convenient. They won't be as, not convenient, they won't be as much because I'm still recovering. But I will create videos, and hopefully you'll be able to see them and enjoy them. I'm giving myself until perhaps December, early January to at least be walking around by myself, because I have to do the physical therapy. I haven't done that as yet, so I am looking forward to that. I heard that the therapy part of this healing process is the difficult part, because now I have to get motion into the knee. I have to learn how to bend my knee with what they did during the surgery, reattaching the tendon into the bone. So I have to get used to that, so I have to start bending the knee, and I heard that's going to be a painful process, but I hope to God that I don't feel that much pain. But yeah, that's pretty much my update and my little rant about living here in Georgia and the dating scene here. I hope to see you guys again. I hope you come and tune in again. Thanks you for watching, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day.